Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is optibotimus coming with another video review. But before we get to it, I'd like you to take one real quick second to hit that thumbs up button. It goes a long way towards helping me out, and I'd really appreciate it. And now that that's done, on today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the new Hot Toys MMS 362 of Ant-Man from Captain America Civil War. For the package, you got a really cool image of Ant-Man there in the background, and as you can see, he's kind of like scaling down. I like that little blur effect going there. And you can see a really larger size image of a Black Widow there. Obviously trying to give you that sense of scale as he shrinks down to the size of an ant. And then on the back of the package, the image wraps around and continues to show the battle that's actually taking place in the film. Then on the bottom section here, you got the various warnings and contact information for Hot Toys. And then when you lift up the slip sleeve cover, on the back of the inner package, you got the cast and crew responsible for making this figure. And then on the front of the package, you got an open window that fully showcases the figure, as well as all of his accessories. But fairly standard for the Captain America Civil War packaging, but still really nice looking nonetheless. But for the packaging on this, that is about it. So without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have the Ant-Man from Captain America Civil War open up and out of its packaging. And I actually really do like the way that this figure turned out. This guy is not without his controversy, but I think that Hot Toys has done a really nice job of capturing the look for the upgraded suit for the Ant-Man. Now coming in first to take a look at his accessories, one thing I will say is that he really doesn't come with a lot, at least not compared to the previously released version of Ant-Man. So as you can see, in addition to the two relaxed hands that are currently on him, he comes with a pair of fisted hands that look really good as well. Hot Toys does a great job of making plastic look like metal, and they absolutely did that as well here. You got a really nice reflective surface on there that, as I said, really nicely captures the look of metal. You can see some great sculpted in detail throughout the rest of the gloves, and then you can see here he's got the little trigger to make himself larger or smaller. But you can see that it is just in a fist kind of grip. Now one thing that's a little unfortunate is that, unfortunately, he doesn't come with a hand that is designed making it look like he's actually hitting those. The original one did. So again, like I was saying, by comparison to some of the other accessories that came with the previous version, he's a little bit lacking actually. He also does come with a pair of clutching hands. You got that same detail with the nice silver kind of hand guard. You got the little trigger right there. What he's clutching, I have no idea. I mean, that's just kind of a weird grasp right there, but great detail on the inside of the gloves. Again, you can see some nice sculpt work on there, but that's it for his hands. He also does come with two extra wrist pegs that, you know, obviously in case you break those ones. He comes with two batteries. Now what's interesting is the actual instructions show 3 batteries and how you install them, but they only give you 2 of them. Now it still works with just 2. One thing that I will say is though, these batteries really do not last very long, and that's one thing that I'm seeing a lot of people actually complain about. So it makes me wonder if, you know, 3 batteries would have been better. I mean, I know I don't leave my figure lights on or anything, so it doesn't bother me all that much, but it is something worth noting. Now, the other thing is, he does come with the Scott Lang portrait, and this has gotten so many people, like, up in arms because they're like, oh my gosh, that looks like Ben Affleck. Yeah, it kind of does, but you know, Paul Rudd and Ben Affleck already look very similar. The facial features are very, very close. So naturally, I think it's going to translate like that here in terms of action figure form. But one thing that's kind of weird is just how much people really do complain about this. I think that looks great. One thing that I will say is, though, it doesn't have the expression that we're normally used to seeing Paul Rudd have, that being a smile or a smirk. This is a very serious kind of look to it, so we don't necessarily get the same spirit of Paul Rudd. But I think that the sculpt on here is wonderful. It's just the choice of expression really does leave some to be desired. I think that it's great though. One thing that I'll say is that we never once saw him just with his full head and face. There was the scene where he's like, does anybody have orange slices? That was just his mask popped off of his helmet. So we never even got like a full sculpt right like this. So it's kind of weird that they included this. I don't mind it, but it really doesn't kind of suit the figure in the fact that he never looked like this. Now, you could kit bash this and put this on a regular body like when they first brought him in to join Team Cap, but considering that the original one came with one that had the half on and off the helmet kind of thing, I'm surprised they didn't do that as well. Now, you also do get this new little mini Ant-Man figure, which, I mean, works perfect when you have like a big guy. All in all, though, great detail on this tiny of a figure. You can see some nice paint applications throughout the entire thing. You got the red, you got the silver there, you got little silver bits across, his chest and everything. Great detail with the helmet. You can see they got his eyes painted red and everything. And then you see he's actually got a little bit of a stand that his feet just fit into, and I'm going to try doing that without looking at it. So you can do that. And it actually stays in here a little bit better than the original little tiny Ant-Man that we got with the original figure. But obviously, you gotta have something like this. It just fits when you have a big giant dude. And to be totally honest, I don't even really use the full figure in my display. I use the miniature little Ant-Man guy. So it's kind of a weird thing that I get the figure and then I don't even actually use the figure in my display. I just use the tiny little dude. But you also do get the display stand. You see the Captain America logo on there. You got the shielder in the back. You got Civil War. You got a little tiny ant right there. Then you got the adjustable cradle, which works nice. But for his accessories, that's it. You really don't get a lot with them, and that's one thing that I don't particularly like. The other one came with a lot of extra little throwing pieces, came with the little pin particle sections that can be slid in here. Now, they changed that with the suit. You don't necessarily need that anymore with this guy, but, some of those like little throwing discs would have been nice to include. Now, coming to take a closer look at the figure, I do really like the design and look of this suit. I think it's a nice update and looks a lot more, modern than the original one did. I mean, you got to remember that Hank Pym was the original wearer of that suit, so it was definitely dated. This is a lot more modernized, and it looks really good. I love the way that the helmet looks. It's a very similar shape and design to the original, but it is a lot more sleek. I also love the fact that it no longer has those annoying wires that attach to it. You can see that you got like little wires throughout the entire thing, but they're actually part of the sculpt, which works a whole lot better. It's just a much better streamlined kind of look. Now, some people were complaining because all these little bits right here, all these little red segments that kind of look like they're little light up pieces, they're meant to denote how he shrinks. They turn blue when he gets bigger, like when he's becoming Giant Man. Now, one other accessory that I would have loved if they actually included would have been like a hand that maybe had like a war machine sculpted into it. I mean, I thought that would have been a cool idea so that you could use this whole figure as like a Giant Man, but they didn't do that. You can see great detail throughout the entire thing. The suit is a much different look to it, and like I said, a whole lot more sleek. I do like the updated look for these little side sections. I do kind of miss the little medallion for his belt that's no longer there, but then you come down, you can see that piping kind of continues with the thighs. You come around here to the back section. It's very simple as it comes down, but it absolutely nails it. Like I said, I love that face sculpt or that helmet on there. That looks really very, very cool. One thing that is neat is you can get in there and getting in really close. You can actually see that underneath those lenses are actually eyes. You can see that, which looks really very, very cool. I thought that was a great touch to kind of add that there's somebody underneath that helmet. Now, you can take it off, and obviously, if you're going to put on Scotland, well, you don't want to pull that whole piece off, but the post right here is kind of stuck in there, so wiggling that out. All right, there we go. So now you can pop that on there. One thing, though, like I said, I mean, we never saw him looking like this, so it's a little bit weird, but I also don't particularly like how the suit kind of comes up, and then around the neck, it looks like he's got the neck part of the suit that, goes up underneath there. I mean, I don't particularly like how that is. It's kind of weird. I mean, you can have that where he's maybe holding that or something and dropping it on the ground. So you could do something like that. But like I was talking about with the eyes on the inside there, it does get a little bit strange. Now, this does have the light up feature like the original one did as well. To access that, you just pull this piece off, and then you got the battery compartment in here. And even it actually does say 1.5 volt times 2. So I guess it's only supposed to have 2, but the instructions for some reason, like I said, show 3 lights or show 3 batteries. So I'm going to turn my lights off so that you can actually see it because, as I said, the batteries do not last very long and they drain very quickly. So here we have the lights completely off. I'm going to flip the switch on here real quick, and there you can actually see the eyes. It's fairly dim, but you can actually see the eyes kind of underneath there, and then you can see that it vents out for the side here, and then you come around to the back, and you got a little vent there as well. So, I mean, all in all, really cool how that actually looks. But like I said, the batteries just don't seem to last for too terribly long, and I'm already seeing, I don't know if you guys are able to see it, but it's already looking like it's dimming down. It looks a lot better in person, and like I said, you can really see those eyes, especially when I get in close. You can definitely still see those eyes in there, although my camera's having a hard time focusing on them because it's all dark. But I mean, there you go, you can really see that, which I think is a very, very cool look. But and you can actually even see the lights kind of bleeding through there a little bit with all my lights on and everything. I mean, it's cool. It's a neat effect. I don't know necessarily if I like it as much as I liked the original one, but it is a cool effect. Obviously, it's fairly accurate to how he looked in the movie, so it's a nice touch. First articulation, a lot of people talk about how like the suit, because it's different than the original one, has this figure having more articulation. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. The head is on a ball joint. You can see the whole post thing, so you can rotate that around. It only looks up and down about that far though, so you don't get a full range of motion with it. Pivot side to side very nicely. Now, the actual instructions, this is one case where I want to talk about you need to read the instructions. I actually didn't, and I did damage this. They talk about how you should only really extend the arms about that far up, and also only about that far forward. So not even a full straight 90 degrees. It says only about 70 degrees or so. I actually pushed it all the way, and what that ended up doing was snapping this. It's attached on the inside. This side here is still attached, so I'm not going to do it. But this kind of like pulled it off of whatever's attached to underneath here. Now, fortunately, I can take one of those little, clear tools that I have a ton of, and I can actually feed that underneath there. But I rotated it where the arm was all the way up like so, and I don't even know what if it's doing here for the strap, but I moved that all the way out, and it just pulled that. So I'm like, son of a gun. So really, guys, make sure that you don't push it. When they recommend what the articulation is, just follow that. Otherwise, you're going to damage your stuff. And like I said, I can actually visually make this look pretty good because I can still tuck that underneath there, but it does disappoint me that I did that. So just be very, very careful. There is a bit of an armpit joint up there as well. He does rotate at the upper part of the bicep. He's got two joints here at the elbow. Coming down to the wrist, those rotate very nicely, but you get the forward and back rotation as well. He's got, it feels like the upper diaphragm joint up here, but you don't really get too much. I mean, he sort of hunches forward a little bit, but most of that comes down here with the actual waist section. So it's not so much the ab area. He moves about that far for the leg. He moves about that far out. You don't want to go too far because, again, you can, damage the seams and everything. Maybe if you move it up, you can move it out a little bit more. He does rotate at the upper part of the thigh, but it is, again, very limited. It does kind of feel like there's a padded suit underneath here, specifically down here like in his thighs and such, so that's kind of weird. He does have two joints here at the knee, but you're only going to get about 90 degrees with it before it starts wanting to spring back. And then the ankles have a nice range of motion. You can see that the boot here is separate from the shin piece. But fairly decent articulation in him. It is still fairly limited because of the suit. Now, for a comparison, obviously, the best one to compare him to is the original one. Now, like I was saying, you can see a lot of visual differences here. A lot of the kind of intricate details of how the suit look have changed. Obviously, you no longer have this big giant backpack thing. You also don't have that wire coming through there. But overall, still very similar elements. Like I was saying, I do miss the little medallion thing on there. And then you can see that this one came with a little, I'm going to push that down with my thumb kind of look. You can also get the arms down closer to the body, which I think looks a little bit better. But people really didn't like the articulation in this, and a lot of it is because like the suit is kind of like this vinyl-y sort of thing, but I didn't think that the articulation was really all that bad, to be totally honest. It feels like it's about the same with the new guy. Ankles, I don't know, the ankles are about the same because these are separate pieces as well. So I really don't get why people think that this one has better articulation than this one. But you're also seeing one of the things that I noticed right away is that the Civil War version is slightly taller. I don't know if that's accurate really, but I do like the bigger size for the figure. And before anybody asks, no, you cannot swap the head. The pegs are a different size, so you can't take that one off and put that on there. And I don't know why I would really want to anyhow. I mean, you can take this and you can pop that off and you got that smirk in there. So that's where a lot of people think that this face is a much better representation of Paul Rudd just because he's smirking. And I mean, I think that the sculpt is exactly what it should be. It does look like him. I just think that this captures his spirit a little bit more with the smirk. So I guess it's a matter of personal preference. Like I said, you do have the little pin particle sections right here. If I can remove those. So you got those little pieces. Obviously, you don't need those anymore because he got rid of that kind of belt section here in the new version. But I don't know. I really do like the way that this guy looks. And because my collection always has to have the most up-to-date version, this is the one that I'm going to go with. But I really do just lean to this one as being the better overall figure in terms of the minor details. At the end of the day, though, I really think that it's going to come down to personal preference. I really like the updated look for the suit. That was something that I liked from the very beginning. But I don't think that the changes to the suit really improve or hinder the overall enjoyment of the figure. When it comes down to it, though, I think it's going to be a matter of personal preference. I really do like the new design for the suit, and I think that Hot Toys has nailed it beautifully. One thing that I'll say, though, is that I do think that the original one does have a better range of motion than this new one. As I talked about in terms of like the shoulder articulation, you're limited in what you're able to do with this guy. But I think that the previous one, just in terms of the minor details, still is the better overall value. For me personally, this is the Ant-Man that I want in my collection, just because this is how he looks now. So all that being said, if this is one that you'd like to add to your collection, he is available right now at Sideshow Collectibles. So all you have to do for that is click on the link down in the video description. You'll go to Sideshow where you can check out availability on this guy, as well as the rest of their wide range of Hot Toys 1/6 scale figures. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. This has been optibotimus. Don't forget that if you like this video, to please hit that thumbs up button. It goes a long way towards helping me out. Also, be sure to subscribe in case you haven't already subscribed. That way you get instant email notifications whenever I upload a new video, and you never miss out on a future review of mine. Or if you're already subscribed, be sure to click on that little bell on my homepage and double check your settings to make sure that they're set so that you get those email notifications. And as always, until next time, be excellent to each other.